A very good evening to you. And welcome along to another Sweet and Swing here on Max Radio. I'm Howard Kane, always a pleasure to have your company on a Friday night. What have we got? How about a bit of Edmundo Ross to bring a bit of sunshine to midwinter? Buddy Rich, that was a new find, we don't often have Buddy on the show. A bit of Duke, some Sam Browne. As Carroll Gibbons might say, what have we got to lose?
Got a penny, you're just as broke as me. I'm not so very busy and you're absolutely free. Hi-ho, lack a day, what have we got to lose? You're very fond of walking, I haven't any car. The church around the corner here is not so very far. Hi-ho, lack a day, what have we got to lose? Hi diddle diddle, that's a song that we can sing the whole day long. Hi ho, if anything goes wrong, we'll sing our worries away. And somewhere in the country we'll find a little nest. We'll pay a quarter's rent and they can sue us for the rest. Hi ho, lack a day, what have we got to lose?
Carroll Gibbons and his boyfriends. Don't know whether you would use that as a group title these days, as I suppose it might have different connotations. Harry Bentley on the vocals there. What have we got to lose? A lovely number as well, and sort of a nice little up-tempo out from Carroll at the keyboard. And Carroll Gibbons, well, he was described thus once. He was the first band leader to feature the quiet melodic brand of music which eventually spread to every hotel and restaurant in the West End of London. It created just the right sort of dreamy atmosphere for an evening out. Sounds somewhat better than a disco or a nightclub these days, doesn't it? It does to me anyway. Must be an age thing. That description was by the W.F. de Mornis, the Savoy Hotel's entertainment director, when he was summing up Carroll Gibbons' popularity. Carroll took over the leadership of the Savoy Orpheans from De Broye Summers in 1927 and then was linked to the hotel then for the rest of his life. And, as we've mentioned before, don't know where the piano is now, but if you can find it, there is a gold plaque fixed to a grand piano, which used to be in the main room there, with a simple inscription: Carroll Gibbons played at this piano 1926 to 1954. I will go and have another look. Like I said, we did go several years ago now, because the old maestro used to ask about it, and my brother and I went and had a look one time and asked the manager, and we needed to speak to several people, sadly, before anyone knew what the hell we were talking about, Carroll Gibbons and the piano there. And then we did find someone who said, "Oh yes, I know what you mean, the piano. I think it's in storage." Make of that what you will. Either it is festering away somewhere, or it's been destroyed. Either way, it seems a great shame, doesn't it? You'd have thought they would make more of it, but times change, as they say. Carroll himself, a native of Massachusetts, and had been at the Boston Conservatory playing with his friend there, Rudy Valley. They've both been studying there, and they were recommended to the Savoy. Send Valley, keep Gibbons, was de Mornis' telegram, because he didn't need a pianist. But by the time they got it, communication a little slower in those days, of course, they were already on their way. And so he got there, and happily he was so good, so impressed everyone, that he was put into the orchestra with Howard Jacobs at the Berkeley Hotel. And the rest of, they say, was history. They took over, and then he, like I said, was associated with the Savoy down there on the Strand for years and years and years. Still do a very good lunch, it has to be said. I hope you're all managing to cope one way or another with, well, yes, I think Ethel Waters will tell us what the issue is. You'll have to forgive me.
Don't know why there's no sun up in the sky, stormy weather, since my man and I ain't together. Keeps raining all the time. Life is bare, gloom and misery everywhere, stormy weather. Just can't get my poor self together. I'm weary all the time, so weary all the time. When he went away, the blues walked in and met me. If he stays away, old rocking chair will get me. All I do is pray the Lord above will let me walk in the sun once more. Can't go on. All I have in life is gone, stormy weather. Since my man and I ain't together, keeps raining all the time, keeps raining all the time. I walk around heavy-hearted and sad. Night comes around and I'm still feeling bad. Rain pouring down, blinding every hope I have. This pittering, pattering, beating and splattering drives me mad. Love, 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 love. This misery is just too much for me. Can't go on. All I have in life is gone, stormy weather. Since raining all the time.
Time now, friends, to bring you a few of the vital statistics. It's music by Buddy Rich and his orchestra playing for you from the Hollywood Palladium, the dining, dancing, and entertainment center of the West. And now as we continue, here once again are the 17 tired musicians. Don't you throw those sticks at me. And Somebody Like You.
Oh, yes, that would have been all right to be in that nightclub, wouldn't it, on that day? Well, I can tell you when it was exactly. It was recorded, as you might have got the gist from the announcer at the beginning there. One Night Stand, transcriptions at the Hollywood Palladium, 27th and the 28th of March, 1946. So a young Buddy Rich, you forget what sort of later on it was all about. The Showman, wasn't it really, in many ways, and it was on all the chat shows, and it was really turbocharged band, big band playing, driven of course by Buddy at the drums. But in the early days he was more, you had a little bit of the fire there, and what became prominent in later years. But for the vast bulk of that track, he was happy just to drive the band from the back, as it were, rather than from the front. And you forget what a good swing drummer he was and what a great sound they made. And a fiery character. He probably would have thrown the drumsticks if someone had upset him. He was not backwards in coming forwards and, shouting down members of the band who weren't playing up to his standards, and certainly wasn't the first to, I think he was a bit of a karate expert if memory serves correct. You wouldn't cross him, put it that way. And before that, yes, forgive me, stormy weather. Well, I just felt I had to play it, really, having been just a wee bit stormy today. Yes, well, it is January. I mean, it's always the old question again, isn't it? Is it getting worse? And the answer is, if you go back, I think Adrian Cowan had put in a few statistics to Manx Radio earlier, the former head of the Met Office over here, and still mad keen on the weather, a passion with Adrian, I think, rather than a job. And yes, have we had lots of high winds before? Certainly. And certainly in the time I've been up at Cronkervoddy, I remember, I think 2005 it was, with some incredibly strong winds, 90 plus, which did actually blow in such a direction it blew a gate. I'd closed all the gates and locked them, but it actually ripped the screws out of the wooden post to which the gate was attached. It was that strong. I'm hoping we won't have had this sort of damage this time around. Fingers crossed in any case. It is Sweet and Swing with myself, H, through until the top of the hour. And then, of course, next week, don't forget, Jumping In. It alternates these days between the two sister programmes, Sweet and Swing, which you're familiar with, Jumping In. And I know it is a big jump from Sweet and Swing to Jumping In, and that Jumping In is very much on the modern side of things. But I do think some of the artists, like Duke Ellington, we're featuring a bit later on, would have been very modernistic. Fats Waller probably would have been as well. So many of them would have been happy to embrace new sounds, new technologies, and the music would have changed. But yes, it's a jump, and it's not always for everyone. But, toe the water and see what you think is what I'd say. You can always turn off if you don't like it. Safe in the knowledge, Sweet and Swing will be back the following week. But there might be something if you can go through a programme. There's still big bands, there's still some great music out there, and some great musicians as well. Edmund Ross coming up with a bit of Sunshine shortly, as well as a bit of Duke. But before that, how about a little bit of Art Tatum? widely hailed as the greatest jazz pianist of his generation, and still by some today the greatest jazz pianist of all time. But how you judge that, well, who knows? There's so many different genres. Suffice to say, he was brilliant one way or another. And when you think he was mostly blind, it just sort of adds to the incredulity at his skill. And there is the great line, maybe apocryphal, but it seems to be quoted in several different sources, so it might well be true, of when Fat Swallow was playing a gig somewhere and Art Tatum had to come into the venue where he was playing, and Fats announced to the audience, God is in the house. A wonderful technique, marvellous harmonic understanding, great sort of rhythm and sort of always willing to take chances. Great stuff there. Mid-40s, I think, that one, when he was probably at the peak of his powers, I would have thought, or close to it. Another man who, actually had a very direct link to the Isle of Man, as we know. Not, sadly, when he was singing, but in his post-singing days, he lived here for a brief while. Sam Browne. Good ending. Sam Browne, Kiss by Kiss. And his story was a real rags to riches and back to rags again. It seems to crop up a number of times with some of the wonderful artists from the swing and big band era. I suppose it was a different time, although it still happens now, I suppose, to some people. But Sam, born in East London, back end of the 19th century, 1898, and he joined the Merchant Navy, learned to play the drums, got very, very good at musical theory and basically as a sight reader. And so when he started singing, and indeed drumming band leaders delighted to hire someone who could read a tune at first sight, and then shot to fame with Jack Hilton before joining Ambrose at the Mayfair Hotel, and is reputed to have recorded with more band leaders than any other man. Unfortunately, as he was getting more and more famous and richer, he also had a good gambling habit, so he would manage to lose an awful lot of the money as fast as he earned it. As one commentator said, he literally did go to the dogs. His dogs more than horses in many ways. And then 1935, when he was at the height of his fame, he was appearing in the Royal Command performance at the Palladium, accompanied by Elsie Carlisle, who he's had a good onstage relationship with. But when he was travelling with her by train at one time, I don't know if it was that on that occasion, he was hit in the neck by 3 bullets fired from the trackside of the railway. I don't know whether they ever found out who actually shot it, but it was around the war years, I suppose. It was a very different time, and it was really only the window that saved him. And fortunately, he did carry on to sing, refused lots of lucrative offers to go over to America, whether he just didn't like the States or wanted to stay in Britain or had other reasons, I don't really know. And then when the war appeared with Ben Lyon and Baby Daniels and Vic Oliver, he was in the radio programme High Gang. And then post-war, of course, well, rock and roll started to come in gradually and tastes changed, and he was a bit down on his luck and his style of singing was no longer very popular. And then just as a final twist, he resurfaced when a hoaxer imitating him for a documentary film was dramatically exposed as a fake. And this hoaxer was very, very good in both he looked remarkably like Sam and sounded remarkably like Sam, to the extent that he was only rumbled when he insisted he made his first record in 1931, which was actually 3 years too late. And the film producers set a trap, and when the hoaxer failed to recognise band leader Lou Stone, of course he'd never met him, he confessed all, and the hoaxer was sacked off presumably and disappeared, and Sam completed the film, but sadly wasn't a great success, bombed without trace. And as it remarks on this CD, actually, for a man who recorded with more bands than anyone else in history, sadly he died alone on the 2nd of March 1972. What a sad ending to an amazing and varied life. Let's mambo it. Emmanuel Ross Mambo Jambo.
The mambo, do they mambo, mambo jambo, mambo jambo, do the mambo, mambo jambo, mambo jambo. Do it with someone you madly adore, soon you'll be finding what you waited for. For when she say with the holding her close, she'll be reluctant to say adios. Latin American kind of romance has to begin with the fabulous dance. Wonderful rhythm she never resists. Here is the part where she want to be kissed. The minute that you begin, you'll find it beneath your skin, like the voodoo of a voodoo drum. It teaches your heart to beat, then goes to your head and feet, like a shaker of Jamaican rum. You do mambo jambo, you dance, break of day, 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 day. You do mambo jambo. All night, you holler, hey, hey, ole! You'll find at the break of day, your heart has been flown away to a land where only lovers dwell. The moment your love is found, the moment your heart is bound, you will press the mambo jambo spell.
Well, I hope you were mambo-jamboing around your living room or bedroom or kitchen, wherever you happen to be listening. Maybe not in the car, maybe you're driving somewhere. I don't know if you can mambo-jambo and drive at the same time. That said, I'm not 100% certain what the mambo-jambo is, but it sounds like it might be quite sort of energetic and frenetic. I don't think it's the sort of one you can do sitting down too easily or in your slippers. Bare feet, maybe? I don't know. If it's warm enough. Can't say I'd recommend it at this time of year. Edmundo Ross, of course. He lived to a ripe old age, about 100, I think. He was still performing until fairly late on. And it always puts a bit of a smile on your face. It makes you think of warmer weather. That would it ever arrive? We waited for an awful long year. I mean, I don't like to think about it. We spent all winter thinking about summer last year, and it never actually arrived. So I'm hoping, on the Isle of Man at least, there's better news this year, and that, surely it will turn up this year. But it was a bit of what's the word? Damp squib? Yeah, that'd be about right, wouldn't it? Now then, a little new mini-series I thought we might have. Jazz trumpets. Now, as I said last week or the week before or whenever it was, we lose track after a while. At least I do. I don't know, you write it down. I dug out another little tranche of goodies from Music Man Towers, which is, we think it's sold now, so we're pretty much almost going to say bye-bye to it forever. So all that is left there, which isn't as much as there was, but what is left needs to be cleared out. And I did find another selection of CDs, some of which have gone to charity shops, but I did find another little tranche of really rather good ones I thought we could feature here. One of which was this one. Various great jazz trumpets, classic jazz to swing, just listing, well, a who's who of great jazz and swing trumpeters: Louis Armstrong, Red Allen, Bix Beiderbecke, Bunny Berrigan, Cootie Williams, Rex Stewart, Roy Eldridge. They're all there. And I thought, well, this might make a nice little mini-series. The jazz trumpet, not necessarily in chronological order through that period, but a sort of mixed bag of some of the greats. Why not? And we may as well start off with surely the best known of all the greats, old Satchel Mouth himself, Mr. Louis Armstrong.
Sunset in the sky, flowers never die, babe. Friends don't pass you by, but that's my home. When the folks say how they do, like they mean it too, where mama's love is true, 'cause that's my home. Welcome back, no matter where I roam. Oh, man, it's just a little shack to me. It's home sweet home, where the Swanee River flows, the shady pine trees grow. I needn't say no more, 'cause that's my home.
You can't beat a bit of Louis, as they say. And you can't. In so many ways, he has to be surely one of the most famous jazz men of all time. Even people who have absolutely no interest in jazz whatsoever of any genre will probably be able to name people like Miles Davis or John Coltrane or Louis Armstrong from an earlier period. The others might be a complete lost cause, but Louis Armstrong, absolutely incredibly famous, and rightly so, in that he was a brilliant trumpeter, an innovator, and a populist as well. Again, he played, I know Miles actually sort of rather disliked him in latter years because he felt he played up to the black man stereotype. And, well, that's another whole argument on that one, I expect. But Louis himself claimed to have been born on the 4th of July in 1900. And it suggested the symbolism was too good to ever be disputed. One of the greatest child prodigies from that point of view of the 20th century in America, born in New Orleans, and poverty and reform school as a beginning. That's how he started out in life, and then became this incredibly charismatic showman, and in addition and above all this, a wonderfully creative artist who did indeed shape the course of jazz. We just heard him there really in his early years, but in his sort of pop swing phase. The first selection there, there's another one later on in this collection, recorded at his first session for Victor with big band support and lots of emphasis there on the free-flowing vocals, of which he was so good at. I mean, he did that throughout the rest of his career, didn't he? And excellent technique on the horn, of course, as well. And next week, like I said, we'll dip into each one of these next week. So I think we'll do a little bit of King Oliver, his sort of mentor, next week. So going backwards, but as I say, we're not going to do it necessarily chronologically, more a dip in to some of the great jazz greats. Back to Britain for this one, and a great band. I've always rather liked it, with a cracking name as well. Hatchett's Swing-Tet. Bluebirds in the Moonlight. couple of things of interest there, if you're not familiar with that one, and it's a track we sometimes play some of Hatchet's Swing Tet, if only for not only for the name. It's a good band and interesting music there, because two things really. The violin playing, rather good, you would think, and you are right, it is very good indeed. It's a Mr. Grappelli, yes, Stefan Grappelli, playing at the violin there. And the band there, led by Arthur Young. The Hatchet isn't the band leader, it was the restaurant. So Arthur Young led Hatchet's Swing Tet, and then eventually disappeared off. He emigrated in the early 1950s to... Actually, I meant to go and have a look. He went to Hobart, Tasmania. Love to see if there's something there. I was in Hobart, Tasmania at the beginning of last year. I wouldn't mind going back. It was a lovely place, Tasmania. If you ever have a chance to go there, I'd recommend it. Very nice, very friendly, very easy to get around, beautiful scenery. And Hobart itself is definitely worth a few days. I only had a day to explore it, but I'd go back and have a bit more time. 2 days, I tell a lie. But I'd go back and see more of it. Anyway, before he left here, he was playing at Hatchet's, the London restaurant where the group resided, where Arthur Young's group resided, and included, as we heard, Stefan Grappelli within their ranks, underlying a bit of a good jazz feeling. Young at the time, one of the finest jazz pianists in Britain, although now his name and his star rather disappeared. And the other interesting thing I mentioned there, you might have heard what sounds like a sort of an electric musical instrument of some kind. Not a guitar, not a synthesizer per se, not what you'd call a Fender Rhodes piano, but it was in fact a Nova chord, which was a very early electric keyboard, much in vogue at the time. And it sounded rather good, didn't it? It definitely gave it a unique sound, even if you didn't know what it was. The vocal there, of course, I say of course, I don't know whether I would have got it. Beryl Davis taking the vocals, the daughter of Oscar Rabin's co-leader, Harry Davis. And I think Beryl Davis emigrated as well. I think she went to the States, if memory serves correct. Now then, I've been promising you some Duke Ellington. Duke Ellington Play Standards, another one I dug up quite recently. So you can put your slippers onto this one or go and make yourself another coffee, or might be a bit late for coffee. Cocoa, dare I say, something stronger. Whiskey, cocoa and whiskey. Bovril, who knows? Anyway, a bit of Duke can never go amiss, can it? And this one definitely can't. Take the A Train.
Right, I'm going to bring Ray Nance right back. Ray Nance returns to the microphone now with his highly animated vocal of our theme, Take the A Train. A flat. Ah!
Hurry, 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 take the A train. You find it's quickest way to get to Harlem. If you should take the A train, you find you get to where you're going in a hurry. Hurry, 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 now it's coming. Can't you hear those rails on? Better get with it. If you should take the A train, you find you get to where you're going in a hurry. Shoo bop bop doo doo bop bop doo whoa. Shoo doo 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 bop doo way. I ain't mad at you, pretty baby. Don't be mad at me. Ooh bop shoo bam shoo bop. That's who you're cool, me and you. I cover the waterfront, I cover the water. Don't know why, there's no sun up in the sky. I've got no money. Help! Shoot that body wop. Help! Shoot that body wop. Ba-doo ba-doo doo 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 doo. Doo-be-doo what you want butter. Shoo-be-doo-ba-doo body body wop. Yankee Doodle went to town. Rockin' chair, honey. Their feet, but oh how neat is Georgia Brown. There's Laura, that's the face. Shootin' doo in the bottom do wow. Ain't much look at, ain't nothing to see. Got my gal, waiting for me. I've got my gal.
That's all for Ray Nance. A flat.
Ray Nance indeed, taking a good bit of scatting there as well. Yeah, not bad. Not bad at all. Take the A Train, of course, from a wonderful collection of Duke Ellington plays standards, and that standard in particular, Take the A Train, as you can gather, and was recorded live, as you also might have gathered, in Carrollton, Pennsylvania in 1957, June of 1957. Hope the weather's a bit better than it's been on the Isle of Man of late. And yes, Ray Nance in a star turn, featuring on cornet first, of course, and then adding the lyric with some bouncy scat, as it says in the liner notes. Can't disagree with that, and I think Duke starts the whole thing off at the beginning. And such, again, a magisterial name, a giant of jazz, and his numbers now, his music, I mean, it's still played widely. It's just, I'd love to have met him. I never got a chance to see the Duke Ellington Band live, and certainly not interview him, but he was a ladies' man, I think, and a real gentleman as well in many ways. And again, the orchestras and the people he's played with, a complete who's who. So Duke Ellington and his orchestra there, well, all sorts of well-known names. John Sanders, Quentin Jackson, Shorty Baker, Clark Terry, Ray Nance. Of course, we just heard Paul Gonsalves, famous from his Jeeps Blues and such like at that time at the Newport Festival, I think it was, wasn't it? Back in the day. Johnny Hodges, Jimmy Hamilton, Joe Benjamin, Sam Woodyard at the drums for so long, and the band joining in as well. With somebody, yeah, they were joining in the scat and the sort of playing along as well, weren't they, in various parts, which was rather fun. Yeah, I think I'll keep that one close to the top of the bag, and we'll come back to more of that. There's another stormy weather version there I could have used, and Duke Ellington's Spacemen as well. Duke Ellington's Spacemen, we've got to play that at some stage, haven't we? Plenty more, I would have thought, in any case. In the meantime, of course, if there's anything you'd like to hear, anyone who's a favourite artist of yours you'd like to hear featured on Sweet and Swing, or indeed Faraway Club, it's still ticking away in the background, although has died a death a bit of late. So if anyone is listening and enjoying the music via the wonders of the World Wide Web and the podcast, of course, and you happen to be listening wherever you might be, Spain, Germany, Antarctica, Russia, Poland, Bulgaria, you name it. A bit further afield than Ronig, though. Get in touch and let us know. howardkane@manxradio.com is the address you want, email-wise, and that's Kane, C-A-I-N-E, Howard, H-O-W-A-R-D, all lowercase. I would be delighted to hear from you. If you want to put pen to paper, you're very welcome, or a postcard. And it's just Howard at Sweet and Swing, of course, and that's Manx Radio, Douglas Head, and it's Broadcasting House on Douglas Head, if you want to be really precise. Douglas in the Isle of Man, and the code is IM15B for Bertie, W for Whiskey. I might go and have one now. And if we can do any features for you, we will. Just get in touch. Always lovely to hear from you, and I know a lot of people do enjoy it. I can see people listening around the world via the podcasts, and you're very welcome. Anyway, that's about it for this week. We will be back in 2 weeks' time. Don't forget, there is Jumping In next week. Give it a whiz. If you don't like it, as I say, we'll be back the week after. But there's some good music there, I promise you. Just a bit different. I'll see you then. Cheerio.